Hello everyone, and welcome to my flash talk on writing alt text and video descriptions for social media and current events. My name is Veronica Lewis, and I run the website Veronica with 4 Eyes, where I have hundreds of posts dedicated to topics on low vision and assistive technology, including content about how to make media accessible for people who are blind, low vision, or otherwise visually impaired. This includes teaching people how to write alt text, image descriptions, video descriptions, and audio descriptions, as well as sharing the importance of having relevant and unbiased descriptions for media content. Now, if you're not familiar with any of these terms, don't worry. I'm excited to start this talk by telling you all about them. The first term I want to talk about is alternative text, or alt text for short. Alt text is a text-based description that is added to images that tells people what is in an image, such as people, text, or other essential details. Alt text is not typically visible to users unless they are using a type of assistive technology called a screen reader, which reads out the alt text verbatim. If an image does not have alt text, a screen reader will typically ignore it or just say the word image instead of providing any additional information. Screen readers are used by many blind and low vision users who are unable to read printed texts, and many popular devices have screen reading capabilities built in. VoiceOver is the screen reader available for iOS and Apple devices, and TalkBack is available for Android and Google devices. There are also screen readers for computers like JAWS, NVDA, Narrator, and more, though I typically use mobile screen readers when I'm accessing social media. Some social media platforms provide automatically generated alt text for images that are posted, though they often provide inaccurate or inadequate details when it comes to describing images taken in settings such as less than perfect lighting conditions, crowds with a lot of people, or other popular photojournalism images. Now don't get me wrong, I love that automatic alt text is available, but it usually doesn't tell the whole story. Users can add their own manual descriptions of alt text when posting an image by clicking on the alt text option within the photo editor. This varies depending on the social media platform, and I have a blog post all about how to add alt text to popular social media websites on my website that goes into a bit more detail on how this is done. Now, I know that a picture can paint 1,000 words, but most of the time, there's only a few hundred characters available when you're writing alt text. This is where image descriptions come in. Image descriptions typically provide more detail than alt text and are included with a post or within a post or within the comments of a post so that anyone can read them, not just someone who uses a screen reader or other types of assistive technology. You see, I have a fluctuating eye condition and don't necessarily use a screen reader every day or every time that I am accessing social media. So image descriptions give me the opportunity to fill in gaps of information that I might have when looking at an image or watching a video with just my eyes alone. An image description provides all of the same information used in alt text, but expands on it a bit more whenever it is relevant. Instead of just telling me that a woman is holding a sign that says, "My life matters," image description goes a step forward to tell me more about what that woman looks like, the expression on her face, the place where she is standing, or even the colors and the style of the sign she is holding. When creating extended image descriptions on social media, I recommend copy and pasting the image description and using a tool such as Pastebin, and sharing a Pastebin link in the replies or original post for those who want to read it. For shorter descriptions, users can write the phrase ID or image description and then add additional details about whatever is in the image. The same will go for other descriptions that are text-based. Image descriptions and video descriptions work the same way, as they are text-based descriptions of content that are shared either in the replies or in a text-based document for those who are unable to watch videos for many different reasons, actually. Video descriptions can also include transcripts of audio or descriptions of other noises in the background that users might otherwise miss out on, as well as descriptions of any actions or movements that are happening on screen. As a person who is very photosensitive, meaning sensitive to still light as well as strobe and flashing lights, and as someone who also has trouble hearing in crowded environments, I use video descriptions almost exclusively to get information about what is going on in amateur video of current events, since a lot of this type of content can contain flashing red, white, and blue lights, as well as loud bangs, crowds, or even shaky cameras. Audio descriptions are very similar to video descriptions, except that with audio descriptions, there is a secondary narration track that provides information about visual items going on the screen in a non-visual way, and the audio itself is not described. I have a lot of audio description resources on my website, including a post about writing audio description for a video on current events, but this talk primarily focuses on alt text, image, and video descriptions, leaving out alt text. Now that we know what these terms are, people may be wondering how they are supposed to use them when accessing social media. After all, accessibility tends to be the last thing on people's minds when they are rapidly disseminating information, for better or for worse. And descriptions for content cannot be generated as easily as captions can be in a lot of cases, although I do realize that auto-generated captions aren't always perfect either. On Instagram, Facebook, and most website or blog platforms, users can edit alt text after they have posted an image by going into the image options and adding or editing the existing alt text. Or alternatively, they can edit a caption that has an image description or video description. Some social media platforms like Twitter do not currently let people edit alt text in an image they didn't originally post or in someone else's post. So it can be confusing at first to figure out how an image can be made accessible. However, there are a few different options for this. You can reblog or reshare or quote tweet the post and add your own alt text and image video description. You can ask to repost with credit and add the descriptions yourself, or you can reply to the original post with this information. You can also tag accounts or use hashtags to ask for image or video descriptions. For protest access and content related to the protests on Twitter, this hashtag is all one word, protest access request. So hashtag protest access request. While normally I am in favor of educating people in the comments about the importance of alt text and image descriptions, a lot of current events content is coming from primary sources that may not necessarily be in a place where they can create these descriptions or think about anything other than their own personal safety. So in these cases, it's better to rely on others to create the description. So what exactly should be included when creating accessible social media content related to current events or photojournalism? While it can be tempting to over-describe images, it helps to think of writing descriptions in a way that feels natural for you to read out loud, or how you would describe an image or video in conversation without necessarily looking at it. All alt text and image descriptions should contain information about the setting of an image, the number of people or types of objects that are in focus, any text written exactly how it appears on the screen, and any other critical information about the appearance of an image. Now, for example, I might write a description that says 2 people dressed in all black wearing face masks holding up a sign that says Vote 2020 as they stand on the steps of the Supreme Court at night. An image description might go into even more detail than the alt text, and this would share information such as the race and gender of the people in the photo, more information about the sign, or other similar information that provides a clearer picture as to what's going on. If this was a video, additional information about background noise or anything that the people were saying would be written out as well. Unless the person has specifically identified themselves, do not share information such as names or precise locations, even if you recognize who is in an image, as this could be dangerous or lead to the images being used outside of their original purpose. When it comes to pronouns, I will usually recommend using gender-neutral they, them, theirs pronouns if they are not otherwise listed, or using terms such as a person or the subject in order to ensure that people are not misidentified. For example, if you didn't know my pronouns and you were writing a description of me in this video right now, you might write that a person with tinted glasses wearing a denim jacket, burgundy dress, and Saturn necklace looks directly at the camera. They are standing in a blank room and have a neutral facial expression. Now, if you knew who I was, or if I was writing a description for myself, this could be rewritten as Veronica stands in a blank room while wearing a denim jacket, burgundy dress, and Saturn necklace as she looks directly at the camera with a neutral expression. This is assuming I've already identified myself as Veronica. Some might argue that since my clothing isn't relevant to the video, it should be left out of the description, but since there isn't really anything else that's interesting here, I'm fine with including it for this description. I also shared my clothing description because it highlights the correct way to describe colors and different shapes and common objects. Don't be afraid of using color shade names like burgundy instead of red, or talking about shapes or objects that everyone kind of has a mental model of or knows what they look like. I know what red and burgundy looks like, and I have a mental model of what the planet Saturn looks like as well, so there's no need to describe what red would look like to someone who couldn't see it, or describe the planet Saturn in depth. These don't need any further descriptions. Viewers also don't need to know that there is a shelf behind me, just like they wouldn't need to know if there was a stop sign or a parked car visible in the background of a video or image, unless these items had some sort of significance such as broken windows or other damage. The last thing I want to touch on in this crash course about media accessibility is the importance of keeping descriptions objective. While I might think my Saturn necklace is awesome, or there is a good reason for me to be standing here in this blank room, I don't necessarily need to include that information when I'm writing alt text or image video descriptions. The same goes for personal commentary on the events that led to me, say, standing in this blank room, or the events that led to people being involved in a protest, or even commentary on the protest itself. Just like you form your own opinions when viewing media for the first time, give users the opportunity to form their own opinion without the influence of someone else who wrote the description telling them what to think. Don't share speculations as to what may be happening in an image or provide a ton of background context. Let the context stand on its own and let users form their own opinions on it. This is especially important when covering protests and things like that. I'd like to end this talk by saying thank you for watching, and I hope that the information I shared here can be helpful for others who want to help make information accessible for everyone, including people who are blind, low vision, or otherwise visually impaired. If you have any more questions, you can visit my website at VeronIIICA.com. That's Veronica with 4 eyes. You can also follow me on Twitter at Veron4Ica, VERON4ICA, or the number 4 inserted between the N and the I in my name. You can also email me at veron4ica@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making social media content accessible for people like me.